Well, Syria has erupted into a vortex of chaos as the rebels have stormed Damascus, toppling the long standing Assad regime. The capital witnessed unprecedented upheaval with Bashar al-Assad fleeing the country alongside his family to an unknown location. The military's confirmation of Assad's fall does little to quell the ongoing violent clashes. Russia's conspicuous absence and lack of support have indeed dealt a devastating blow to the Assad regime. But the tremors of this political earthquake extend far beyond Syria's border. Tehran is now trembling with Ayatollah Ali Khamenei finding himself increasingly isolated. The mullah regime stands exposed and its regional proxies are crumbling one by one. Khamenei, once a puppet master of the regional politics, is now appearing as the last desperate remnant of a rapidly disintegrating network of influence. Syria has been thrown into unprecedented chaos as Bashar al-Assad, the long-standing dictator who was accused of using chemical weapons against his own population, has fled Damascus with his British-born wife and 3 children. The rebels, led by Islamic group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, also known as the HTS, have stormed the capital, marking a monumental turning point in the Middle Eastern power politics. Assad's fall represents the collapse of over 50 years of family rule, with the Syrian television reporting his escape, though his destination still remains unknown. The US-designated terrorist group HTS, led by Abu Muhammad al-Golani, has played a decisive role in ousting the Iranian-backed regime. However, the fall of Assad regime is no great news for the so-called liberal world. Syrian experts warn that the HTS attempt to represent a toned-down version of radical Islam, with their ultimate goal still remains to establish a Taliban-like society. The power vacuum led by Assad's departure threatens to plunge Syria into further uncertainty with the regional powers like Iran and Russia caught completely off guard. Just days ago, both the nations had pledged to support Assad regime, but the Russia's Ukrainian entanglement has rendered it strategically important. With Moscow deeply embroiled in the Ukraine war, rescuing Assad has dropped to the bottom of its priority list. The rumors right now suggest that Russia has extracted Assad and his family, providing temporary sanctuary on Russian territory. This isn't a surrender but a strategic pause. Putin likely calculates a potential comeback once the regional dust settles. Well, Russia's case is pretty understandable, but folks, Iran find itself more exposed, watching its key regional proxies crumble without a viable backup plan. The Assad departure leaves a massive hole in the Iranian strategic architecture. The once powerful resistance network spanning Gaza, West Bank, Yemen, Lebanon, and Syria has been decimated, leaving Tehran strategically naked and exposed. Israel and the US have already systematically dismantled Iran's proxy infrastructure. The elimination of key leaders like Yahya Sinwar and Hassan Nasrallah, coupled with the relentless targeting of Hezbollah and Hamas commanders, has surgically weakened Iran's regional tentacles. This is no hidden fact that for a decade, Iran weaponized Syria, expanding the regional influence through a sophisticated network of proxy groups. The Islamic Republic and the most potent proxy, Hezbollah, were instrumental in propping the Assad regime, helping the Syrian government, forcing to reclaim the lost territories and deploying the IRGC commanders as strategic advisors. However, after IDF's direct clash with Nasrallah's men, Hezbollah's engagement with Israel triggered a brutal retaliation that decimated the group's leadership and operational capabilities in Syria. Without Hezbollah's critical support, the Assad regime became a house of cards waiting to collapse. After that, Russia's strategic exit made it evident that the Assad regime is in grave trouble. Iran's foreign minister's empty threats of sending soldiers into Syria rang hollow against the lightning-fast rebel advance. The push was so rapid and decisive that Tehran was left with no strategic options but retreat. Assad's fall has left Iran completely exposed, stripping away its last regional foothold. From Syria's collapse to strategic defeats in Gaza and Lebanon, the Iranian regime finds itself increasingly isolated and vulnerable. Khamenei's grand vision of a Middle East dominated by Iran has crumbled spectacularly. This isn't a mere setback, it is now an existential crisis. The fall of Syria into the rebel hands represent a nightmare scenario for the world. But for Iran, it is an alarm bell because after the fall of Assad, Iran now only has one option left: to go nuclear much faster, because if it doesn't, America won't wait for long to hit a final crushing blow.